So Prem, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. Downtown's a fun place, man. Great restaurants, shops, retails. I think we talked about that last week or the week before. But
so you're in Carmel Valley. You're in the metro market. Gaslamp, obviously a little bit more unique, but compared to other parts of the country, very residential.
Yeah, there's a lot of residential in the Gaslamp. People don't realize it. Sometimes you get a lot of tourists that come into San Diego. They go to Seaport Village. They see all the sights and attractions, and you forget that people actually reside there.
You heard some of the stuff they were talking about, cycles, interest rates, what's happening in their markets. Is it different? I mean, is downtown, are different things happening? I mean, you're talking about inventory, your number of buyers, how sellers are reacting to some of the fluctuations in interest rates. Is it different down there?
It's pretty comparable to the other markets in San Diego. Downtown has some uniqueness to it. You get a lot of second home buyers. You get a lot of vacation owners, people that want to come to town for a few weeks of the year, and they'll buy property down there. So it's a little bit different in the extent. It's probably more like some of the beach communities like La Jolla or Del Mar.
We did the event last week. You guys all spoke on stage, right? You remember me talking about babies being born? Mm-hmm. So in 1960, the highest birth rate this country's seen. You know the next year, the next highest? Were you not listening?
This year?
No, 1990. So the hippies that had babies, those babies are having babies. And so if you look at 1990 now, these are 23-year-old kids, and they're getting jobs, they're making money, they're needing to buy homes, and now this little boom of the next generation. I mean, downtown, to me, it seems like a lot of people have questions about what would happen to the downtown market. I feel like it's getting cleaner, it's getting better. They're adding things like the library, the law school.
Absolutely.
I would be pretty confident in downtown housing.
Yeah, I think the confidence level downtown is high, and all over the country there's a gentrification. So people want to live closer to what they do on a day-to-day basis.
Yep. Now, tell me why the metro market's better than downtown.
Well, I wouldn't say that it's better per se. I think that there's some people that don't want to deal with the homeowners association for one, and so some of the homeowners association downtown are 600-700 plus.
Yeah,
Pause.
thank you.
I want everyone to know that the stats we showed earlier that Marc was going over on the different markets, the background image, if you can flash in on this thing here, that's the view from Marc's property. What are you paying at HOAs, Marc?
Oh, what did I do to you? My dues are $14.49 a month.
Yeah, so that's big. Now,
I love living downtown.
But he loves it, all right? Now, you just made a lot of people probably throw up in their mouth a little bit.
Probably.
So maybe, I don't know.
But hey, being that baby boomer, that little hippie generation that has a 29-year-old son, I've earned it.
Did I just call you a hippie?
No, well, you said that hippie generation, right?
Your hair's too short
60s.
to be a hippie.
Yeah, I know. Well, everything changes.
But the metro market, so Melissa, $1,400 in HOAs. Now, I know that that's a big amount, but let's say half of that, $600, $700. Is that, what would you say average HOA?
Average HOA is probably $600 to $700 a month. That's a good range.
Now, let's first explain, you actually get something for those HOAs.
You do.
It's not like you're just throwing the money away.
Yeah. I mean, these are expenses that you're going to incur no matter what.
Okay.
With an HOA, somebody's managing that money for you. So instead of fixing a roof in 20 years, you're allocating a sum of money every month to that future repair. So either way, you're going to spend the money. With an HOA, you kind of spend it up front. You spend it on a monthly basis. But when a repair occurs, you don't have to come out of pocket for it.
$600 though. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's the true cost of ownership.
Yep. So you take that $600, you roll it into the market that you cover, the metro market, University Heights, North Park, Kensington.
You get $100,000
It's about
more.
It's about $100 grand.
I think it's a qualification issue for some people sometimes. They can't afford the payment plus the homeowners do. So it's not just, I see your point as well.
Right. No, absolutely, and that's when they come see a professional like yourself.
Right, exactly.
And I might have to use you too because everyone else has said they would. So.
Well, like I said, we could talk after.
Well, and I think it comes also down to a lifestyle choice, right? I was in Solana Beach before I moved downtown, which was beachy, lived on a large lot, lots of views, but downtown has just got so much going on. I love it. My office is still up in that part of North County.
It's downtown San Diego is awesome. If you, newly married couple, you have a kid, often you might think, I want to buy a house. Of course, when we had breakfast the other day, you remember that? The guy's walking down right in front with a stroller, and he waves at me. I said, I saw that same guy yesterday, and I was sitting in the same exact spot, eating the same exact acai bowl. So you see more of the babies down there. But single-family residence, your area, what's going on in the metro market?
There's a lot more people, purchasing, and also there's a lot of move-up buyers too. So say they did get a condominium, they're looking to sell that. They've maybe had 1 or 2 children, and now they want a house as well. So I've seen that a lot, especially in this past 6 months. Seems to make a big difference.
And we were talking about interest rates earlier. I mean, the affordability. Like, let's look at North Park. I think North Park is one of the coolest areas in San Diego because it's so close to downtown. You can buy the single-family residence. You get a huge bang for your buck with low interest rates. I mean, let's call it $2,000 payment, call it a $500,000 mortgage. I know that I'm shooting from the hip here. What can you get there? How many bedrooms, bath? What are we looking at in your area?
You could still get about a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for about 1,600 square feet, depending. If you want newer construction, then of course that's a little bit less. But definitely, I think there's a lot of inventory for that price point.
Enough inventory right now?
Absolutely.
Cool. You guys are going to stick around. I'm going to make you stick around. When we come back, I still want to continue to compare some of these markets. I have a couple articles that came out this week that were top line of some of the pages that you go to for real information, and I want to get you guys' reaction because this is some of the things that consumers are seeing right now. Having you in here being a wealth of knowledge, I think it'd be great to share it with us. So you're watching The American Dream. We'll be back with that here in just a moment. Welcome back to The American Dream. Thanks for joining me here. We have Prem Advani, Melissa Tucci, Marc Prestera. They're the elite in San Diego when it comes to real estate knowledge, and they all have their different niche type of client that they work with. So all of them make sense depending on what your short and long-term goals are with buying real estate. In between the break, we pulled up the iPad here, and Prem, we got your website, advanirealty.com. You and I have known each other for years. I remember when you're getting this all redeveloped. You have the best website from just interactiveness. Is that a word? Interactiveness?
I think
Works
it's a word.
today.
Interactivity.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. In imaging and graphics, it's engaging. So I mean, play with that thing. What
appreciate
do we
that.
find in there?
Yeah, so basically what we try to do is we try to create something that was, like you said, interactive, where you could go to different components of the site and really kind of feel like you were doing a tour of that area of San Diego.
Yep.
We started with downtown. We created virtual tours. We created mapping tools, so you kind of feel like you're actually standing on the street, looking at the building, and then walking around.
Wow.
So
Do you have some of your listings in there?
we do, absolutely.
So you typically feature your listings. You also
feature
do
our
property
listings.
management. You do a whole bunch of stuff there.
Yep.
And incredible website. If you want to learn more and check some things out today, go to advanirealty.com. Got that right?
Advani.com, yep.
Learn more about what's going on downtown. He's the guy down there. There's been some interesting articles. Amongst this 24/7 news cycle, we're not short of opinions, and we're certainly not short of content and blogging and these articles. Some of them are accurate, some of them are not. The first one that we had to do with the government shutdown, right? Now, I want to ask you guys, as we pull this up, when your clients hear something like a government shutdown, how do they react? Do they care? Does it slow them down? Do they respond at all? I mean, here's an article, the shutdown could slow mortgage lending. Have you guys heard anything like that from anyone that you interact with?
Well,
go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, I know in our office, we recently, just in the last couple days, had an agent who, his client is a contractor at Qualcomm, not a full-time employee. The gentleman's wife is a doctor. They make great money. And just all the chatter caused them to pull back, even though they could just qualify a loan on the wife's income. So I think that consumers have
because something
that,
actually happened to them, though.
Yeah, well, the husband's contract did not get renewed yet through Qualcomm. It would have happened normally September 30th. Now they're saying maybe at the end of October. So it just put enough of a concern in their lives to pull back and go, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And which is unfortunate, because this is just a little blip on the radar screen, isn't it? I mean, we've been through this before.
People watch too much news. I'm guilty of it.
Yeah.
It puts you in a bad mood. Then you watch Al Nevin on stage in front of 1,000 real estate experts say things are fine. We own Nevada, we'll just sell it. It's like, what? Really? It's that simple? How about you, Melissa? Do you see any type of reaction from clients?
A couple of clients that are FHA or VA, they just get nervous because they don't know. They're not educated. They just see one little thing and say, oh God, I have a FHA loan.
And maybe they should, yeah.
I'm not going to be able to get a loan. So I think it's more just explaining what exactly it means.
And I'll go ahead and do
Sure.
that. Here's what you need to know. Right now, there hasn't been anything to really acknowledge. We haven't seen any delays or anything along those lines. What are we watching here? This is the government shutdown apparently caused a protest on war. I saw a no war sign. But anyway, so with FHA, there's what's called a case number. Now, anytime you go to buy a house, you have to get an FHA case number. So your mortgage planner should be ahead of the curve, should be able to get that. And if there's a little delay there, it's not going to throw things off. Also, at the end of a transaction, sometimes there's a part of the process that has to wait till the very end. The funding source is going to verify what's called a 4506, and that's to get your tax transcripts just to verify your income. That could actually create some delays. We on the radio show this week, we had Gary Quackenbush, who was in here earlier talking about estate planning. He had a recording of a phone call he did with the IRS, and it was the IRS saying, we're not here because of the shutdown. Call your local newspaper and say something about it. It's the weirdest voicemail I've ever heard. IRS is still going to get your money, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that exciting.
They'll take that deposit anytime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, then there's also an article this week about foreclosures. All right, so foreclosure numbers seem to be going down. We also talked about this on the radio show. With them going down, I think we're getting through the bad loans that were in the market, the pay option arms, the stated isn't necessarily bad, but it was abused. The 125% loans, the adjustable rates that went up on people. Most of that's been worked out, so foreclosures are down. Do you think that there's anything to be cautious of from the past, or do you think we've worked past most of that? Are these articles pretty accurate?
I think that we've worked our way through it and past it. And as a matter of fact, having been a foreclosure broker for a number of lending institutions, I haven't had
What does that mean, Mark? I want people to understand that.
When banks would actually take property back, it would be in what they call an REO, real estate owned by the bank. And of course, the bank needed to, disseminate those assets and liquidate them, turn that money back into working money for them. I have not had a foreclosure or an REO assignment in 18 months. It's really moved to that short sale market. Wouldn't you guys agree? I mean, how many foreclosures have you seen in your marketplace?
And even the short sales are becoming fewer and more far between. And in the United States, Craig, 50% of home buyers in the last year paid all cash. 30 to 50%. In some markets, it's up to 50%, like San Diego.
That's a lot of mattress money, isn't it?
But I still get a lot of...
It's crazy that people have that much money and they're just stroking a check for a home. 50% of purchases.
In some counties, in some cities.
Even if it's lower, it's still a big number.
So you got to look at this government showdown as potentially an opportunity for some investors. You're asking what our feedback from some of our clients were. Some of my clients are saying, well, wait a minute, the rates have gone up a little bit. They came back down. There's this government shutdown, which is causing people to panic and maybe pull off the table. Let me go in and get some more assets this time. Let me go buy some more things while people are waiting.
Interesting.
And maybe there's a good opportunity
buy low,
there.
sell high, right?
Right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, you have to go against the grain of your natural emotional tendency. Warren Buffett, be greedy when others are fearful when others are greedy. And I think what's happened now is the flow of information is changed the game. Information flows so easily because of the advancement of technology. Now you have social medias where you have all the stuff, and the reality is that can be great. It's nice that you can click a mouse and connect with a friend you went to high school with, you never thought you'd talk to again. The problem is there's so much misinformation, and people are walking around uninformed, thinking they're informed, and I can't imagine that makes your guys' lives any easier.
Well, and I was just going to touch on, I still get a lot of people ask me, how come there's no foreclosures or short sales? I want this zip code, and there's literally not one property that is a foreclosure or short sale, when 2 years ago.
Oh, people are looking for the steal.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
right.
and they're just not out there anymore. So it's just really interesting, again, keeping up with the marketplace.
Well,
and
a
the
couple
changes.
years ago, though, the way that a lot of real estate companies would get people to walk in is they'd put those stands out there and say, come get the foreclosure list. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So it's interesting to see how the market shifts and people seem to be just a little bit behind it, but that's natural. If we had a doctor in here, an attorney or a nurse or anything like that, and we were talking about what they do for a living, I certainly I'd be clueless. That's what professionals are for, and that's why we have you guys here. We want to be a resource for our viewers and for the listeners of the radio show, so we set up craigsewing.com as a place you can go to ask any questions, to get advice from these pros here. It could be buying real estate, selling, learning the value of your property. We're still getting inquiries about loan modification, anything, credit, mortgage, all that stuff, craigsewing.com. But we also hit the streets every week to ask some real-life questions. We call it the man on the street. So you guys want to help me answer some man on the street questions?
Love to.
Sure.
All right. Well, you don't really have a choice. Let's go.
Great.
Hey, what's up, Craig? It's your boy Jannar from the Narcast. Check it out when you can. But anyways, trying to own and rent my own crib. So what's the process of renting to own? Hey, what's up, Craig? It's your boy Jannar from the Narcast.
So Jannar, he wants to know how to buy a house from renting. I think that we actually answered this with our intern. Why am I drawing a blank? Lynn Zim. Lynn Zim, our new intern that just joined the sewing team. She's in studio somewhere. She is talking about renting her home and the process of buying real estate. We used her as an example, and I think the first thing we said was, let's start saving money, right?
Yep, absolutely. Even if it's $100 a month, every penny counts and adds up. Absolutely.
You hear that, Lynn Zim and Jannar? You got to save money. So start budgeting. The one thing I want people to do, and you should go to craigsewing.com for this, is see a renting versus owning analysis. I mean, the numbers are absolutely ridiculous. When you compare what people are paying in rent right now versus what you would have in a mortgage payment. So let's give a hypothetical. Let's say you had a $2,000 rental payment and you had a mortgage payment that was $2,500. A lot of times people are going to say, well, that's a higher payment. I can't afford $500 more each month. But when you really make the true equation, you look at the net cost, the mortgage payment is paying down principal, so you're building equity. You're also going to get tax advantages that come back to you. So the net cost is going to be less than what you're paying rent many times over. Plus, if values go up, you're going to be building equity naturally by a property going up and paying down loan balance. So I'm going to put all these experts on the spot here. Property values going up. San Diego, we sell somewhere around 20% year over year. What happens in a year from now? You guys want to make some predictions? Bring your crystal balls. Start with you.
Yeah, I'd like you put her on the spot first. Thank you.
I'm saying about 8% next year.
I'm going to put it to you this way. It's impossible to predict, and all of us care too much about our integrity to put ourselves out there and make these type of predictions. So I actually answered this question on the radio show this week, and I said, there's a gun to your head. You have to predict, or I'm going to shoot you. So 8% the number is your best guess.
Yeah, I'm going to say kind of along her, 6 to 9, depending upon what marketplace you're in.
It's going to depend on market, right?
So I'm a little more conservative, and I feel that with the mortgage interest rates probably remaining at the same levels, you're going to see more modest growth. I think 0 to 3%, more likely 1.5 to 2%.
God, after hearing Prem, I'm not even going to give my prediction. Apparently, I'm a little bit more bullish.
Go for it. I'm curious now.
Well, if there's a gun to my head, I was going to go with 10, but that's why I bring you guys in. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. So we got you guys here. But you know what? Let's say it was 3%, and you bought a $500,000 house with a payment that is equivalent to what you're paying in rent. A $500,000 house going up 3% a year. When you're talking about $15 grand a year. If it went up 8%, you're talking about $40 grand a year, 10%, $50 grand a year, while getting tax advantages, while paying down principal. And by the way, it's the American dream, right?
It is.
It is the American dream. You get to own it. You get to live in it. You get to raise your family. I always reference the fact that my parents live in the house I was raised in. So there's something much more than the numbers.
Do you remember during the peak, this last go around, we were in the 2001 to 2004, 2005, and I can remember the news reporting that in some instances people were making more in monthly appreciation than they made all year long based upon their house. But keep in mind that only plays out if you sell it, right? So,
good point.
And we all need a place to live. It's just a good, solid investment no matter what you look at. And if you're looking at it strictly from the gain, I don't think that's the way to look at it.